driver, Carrington, gets dumped by Benami. The leaders are winding up here. Daytona, the big one is out. Good morning, race fans, and welcome back to the Metro Ford Cup Series here at the Old Bastards Racing League. Today, we're going to find ourselves at the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. We're going to go 160 laps around the old asphalt of Atlanta, 1.5 miles, a hot temperature, 106 degrees here today. It's going to be a good one. As always, I'm your host, James Eastspring, the Action 1080p, 60 frames a second. On behalf of Team Goon Squad Broadcasting, right now, single car qualifying is underway for our drivers. It looks like it's Clint Rice sitting on top of pole. And let's check in on some of our other favorite drivers to see who may be out on track. Now today, a little bit different, ladies and gentlemen, as we have multiple drivers that will be starting from pit road. A whole lot of no-grid penalties being handed out here today, as drivers have been above the maximum incident point per lap system that we track here at OBRL. What that basically means, if you find yourself tied up in too many incidents over the duration of the season, you can receive EOLs, and after that, you will be working your way to pit road to start the event. So let's see what Milligan can do in the number 18 Ford Mustang. Now he's going to go out for qualifying despite having that no-grid penalty. And you'll also notice a few triple-digit drivers out here. Looks like a couple of them. Dan Hill in the 112 and Josh Mayu in the 299 machine. Since they are the triple-digit drivers, they will be ineligible to qualify as well. But it's going to be interesting. I think about half the grid here tonight will be starting from pit road with that penalty being applied to a whole lot of drivers. I'll try and get you a count on that here shortly, as Rice holds on to the top spot in qualifying. Number 20 Chevrolet recently earning his double-digit numbers. Dwayne Mccarthy, the fast Canadian, are currently sitting second in qualifying. Greg McDaniel third. Let's see what Milligan can do here. Despite having that no-grid penalty, he's still going to come out there and try and get some practice in at least. And he clicks off a 31.12, good enough for 11th. Al Turner moves up to 7th in the 76 machine. Let's see, Andrew Hess going out late in qualifying as well. Tom Ogle also going out late, waiting for Robinson to make his way out on the track. So Hess starts his timed lap here. Let's see what the number 54 machine can do. Hess getting ready to click off his first lap. Now, as we saw at the Pro Series this past week, it looked like this was a one-lap qualifying race. Most drivers, at least in that series, were able to find their fastest times on their first flying lap. Let's see what Hess can do his second lap to improve on a 31.17. He needs to find just about 2/10 here to find himself on pole. Tom Ogle's moved up to third in the number 11 Ford Mustang. He clicked off a 31.04. Let's see what Hess does this time by. Hess with a 31.07, so it'll be about a tenth off of Rice. We've got Josh Robinson out on track, number 23 machine. He's usually very quick in qualifying. Robinson is out lap a 31.13. No, excuse me. A 30.92 on his second time by, so Robinson will take pole once more here. I believe this may be the third pole Robinson has gained this season, as he is currently in the charge for Ride the Pole Award here at OBRL, the Metro Ford Cup Series. But let's get ready to go racing, ladies and gentlemen. 160 laps here at Atlanta. And let's run it through today's grid. Starting on pole, Josh Robinson. Clint Rice starts second. Dwayne Mccarthur starting third. Brian Glass fourth on the grid. Tom Ogle starting fifth. Greg McDaniel starting sixth. Andrew Hess starting seventh. Brian Lindsay starts eighth here today. Brian Lynch starting ninth. John Hinchcliffe starting 10th. Al Turner starts 11th. Eddie Jones starting 12th. Then we've got Dakota Pischke starting 13th. Joe Brown starting 14th. Patrick Milligan starts 15th. William Fletcher 16th on the grid. Kevin Strandberg will be starting 17th. Dale Copeland starts 18th. Lee Warsdale starting 19th. Joey Buscemi starts 20th. Jonathan Green qualifying 21st. Chris Walsh 22nd. Michael Watt starting 23rd. Jeff Lydon starting 24th. Cycling it on back to Robert Garisco starting 25th. Dean Gear starting 26th. Mike Schrader starting 27th. Lloyd Moore 28th on the grid. Michael Dow starting 29th. Larry Corey starting 30th. Bruce Pearson starting 31st. Jode Hoskins starting 32nd. Dan Hill starting 33rd. Ken Huff 34th on the grid. Jason Higginbotham starting 35th. Josh Mayu starting 36th. Then we've got Carl Burke starting 37th. And Bert Dotson rounding out our 38-car grid. Let's get ready to go racing here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Now expect just about half the field here to be starting from pit road with those aforementioned penalties. Out of 38 entries, I would wager a good 10-15 or so will be starting from pit road tonight. Make it 13 is the magic number. 13 drivers starting from pit road after earning the ire of race control. It'll be Robinson and Rice on the front row. McArthur, Glass, your second row. McDaniel, Ogle, your third row here today. As always, let us know where you're tuning in from, who you're cheering for. As these drivers will frequently have the broadcast pulled up on a separate screen. If not, they usually go back just about 9 times out of 10 and they watch what's going on. Pace car is in. And the green flag is out at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Here we go, 160 laps with about 13 drivers going to be quickly leaving pit road here. Robinson out front. He's got Clint Rice on the high line. Number 83 machine of Dwayne McCarthy on the inside line. But look at the run from Rice. to take over the race lead there. Already we've got drivers off track. It was Bruce Pearson involved in an incident as a whole slew of drivers leave pit road. And what will be considered a botched start for several. Let's see what happened. Oh, there was a butchered start here for certain. Oh, look at this. The field checks up. And the accordion effect quickly coming into play. So thankfully, no caution as of yet. We're going to run it green as Rice has a 3/10 advantage over second place Josh Robinson. Robinson linked up with McCarthy right in tow. There's Brian Glass, Tom Ogle rounding out the top five. Kevin Strandberg down pit road. Bruce Pearson, I believe, may have went back to the virtual hauler. But several drivers are going to have damage very early on here due to that that starting misfortune, I guess is a good way to describe it. Robinson and McCarthy side by side in the battle for second. Brian Glass, Tom Ogle in hot pursuit, trying to see which driver they want to give some draft support to early on in the run. But no, we're going to go 2 wide, 2 rows deep, and now it's going to be Tom Ogle and Greg McDaniel kind of watching the party from the back of this lead pack. But we may have a caution coming out as this shows Ken Huff involved in an incident. But I think he wound his way out on the pit road. Let's see what happened to Huff. Oh, just gets a little bit loose, and a massive hit to the inside wall. So still no caution despite some early mistakes and misfortune. As we watch the battle for second. Oh no, Clint Rice with a massive blink, your race leader, has disappeared from the raceway. Rice has lost connection. Did he come back? Oh my goodness, Rice was gone for a good 5 to 10 seconds there, just ahead of Robinson and McCarthy. That is the last thing the number 20 machine of Rice wants to see here early on tonight. It's connection issues starting to rear their ugly head. And that has allowed the field to slightly tighten up behind them. So now Rice, Robinson, McCarthy, Glass, Ogle, McDaniel all in a nice tidy pack. And it looks like Andrew Hess running 7th, starting to pull up a little bit of gap as well and interject himself into the party. Here we go, the battle for the lead. Josh Robinson, Clint Rice. Your front 2 cars, Dwayne McCarthy, Tom Ogle, itching to get up there as well. Oh, look at McCarthy. He's looking at the inside line of Robinson. And we're going to go 3 wide with traffic early on here. I believe that is Hoskins in the 66 machine. As Rice gets a little bit of a break here as Robinson and McCarthy start to do battle for second. Tom Ogle, the number 11 machine, going to try and get up there and lend his support to teammate Josh Robinson. And here we go, McCarthy with some momentum, wants to challenge Rice for the lead here. Robinson and Ogle going to stack up behind your race leaders. McCarthy on the inside line. Ogle letting his teammate Robinson down, but that's going to cost him a little bit of drive here on the tri-oval And for the first time tonight, Dwayne Mccarthy, the fast Canadian, takes over the race lead. The 83 machine up 2 spots from where he originally qualified. So it looks like Rice is going to drop back to third. Ogle still hanging on, but Rice goes very high here. That may allow Ogle and Glass running third and fourth to make their way up a little bit higher, leaving Rice out on the high line by his lonesome here. As I don't think Robinson's going to let McArthur go. He's going to put the pressure on that 83 machine and see what he can force out of that Canadian. More lap traffic for our lead pack to contend with as they go side by side. Robinson on the inside line, McArthur up high. But what's going to happen is they're already approaching traffic on lap 13. Atlanta fairly big by modern NASCAR standards, but things get a little bit heated when you throw a third car up into the mix. Coming into tonight, it's Eddie Jones in front on points. But Eddie, currently running 20th out on track, down 8 spots from where he qualified, has got a lot of work to do. McArthur second in points, Robinson third in points. Robinson currently out front looking to try and whittle away some points both from Jones and McArthur here if he has anything to say about it. McArthur takes a peek at the inside line of Robinson's number 23 machine. So as it stands, it's Robinson, McArthur, Ogle, Glass, and Rice, your current top 5. After we have narrowly avoided a couple of early cautions here tonight. More traffic to contend with, this time going down low. Now historically we've seen traffic go high here at Atlanta, but I think drivers for the most part are just going to grab whatever spot feels most comfortable to them. The biggest thing they can do right now is just be consistent when the lead pack makes their way by. And look at this, Tom Ogle in the bright pink number 11 Ford Mustang. Looks to the inside line of McArthur. Can he carry the momentum down the backstretch and take over the second place, tucking in behind his teammate Robinson? Looks like he will be able to do so in the top 5, ever changing early on. As always, thank you to our viewers from across the world. Tune in either on YouTube or Twitch here today, supporting the broadcast, supporting your racers, and supporting the league. Couldn't do it without you guys. As we're watching some great racing for the battle up front, Robinson, Ogle, McArthur, your top 3, but don't forget about Brian Glass and Clint Rice rounding out the top 5. But Walsh having problems back out on track. The number 57 machine has a bit of a moment. What happened to him? The same thing, he just gets a little bit loose coming out of 4, and then he's going to hot dog it through the tri-oval. Well done holding on to it there. A little bit of air time for the fans, but could have been much worse for him. As Robinson and Ogle running nose to tail, 2 teammates. McArthur going to try and interrupt their party. Now we're expecting the fuel window to run out to about 67 laps or so tonight if we can go green all the way. Things going well in the battle for the lead. Robinson, Ogle, 2 teammates will now challenge each other for the race lead. McCarthy sits in third. Brian Glass trying to make his way up as well. Oh, we're about to see a three-way battle for the lead. Here comes McCarthy looking at the inside line. Robinson and Ogle linked up on the high line. Brian Glass will join them as well. As we've got a 6-car pack, have extended their gap to about 1.6 seconds over Michael Watts. And the number 84 machine, Watts up 16 positions from where he started. Now running 7th on track. So Ogle gonna enjoy his time in the limelight in the White Claw Seltzer back number 11 machine. Run about 2/10 ahead of McCarthy at this point, but all these drivers running almost identical lap times, 23 laps in. Atlanta not known for a track for being easy on tires. So it'll be interesting to see how the long run plays out. Because once these guys get in a groove, everybody inside this top 10 very familiar with long runs and what it takes to make it till the end and keep that front right from cooking too much rubber off during the run. And look at Brian Glass trying to work his way up there as well. Now running 4th on the track. Trying to inch back up to Josh Robinson, number 23 machine. He's got a big run there, but will he have anywhere to take it? Six drivers in the lead pack, still running about a 1.6 second gap back to 7th. And so I'm a little surprised here. These guys have been pushing the entire time, racing back and forth. We haven't seen any single aisle shenanigans fall suit. These guys are out here racing and racing hard as Ogle has a little bit more pressure from McCarthy in the battle for the lead here. As here comes a whole lot of traffic. Barney, our flagman, watching on to see how Tom Ogle's going to have to slice through a massive amount of drivers just ahead of him. Lap traffic going high, but tagging the wall. This is where things can get exciting. McCarthy has to back off the pedal to avoid traffic. I believe that may have been Chris Walsh in the 63 machine. We've went 29 laps caution-free so far. With traffic, Oval has been able to extend his gap to about a quarter of a second over McCarthy. But here comes traffic once more to possibly throw a wrench into Tom Ogle's plans, heading down the backstretch here at Atlanta. McCarthy sends it in deep in turn 3. I think that's Jonathan Green just ahead of the lead pack. No, I think it's going to be Buscemi in the 56 machine. Yes, it is. Who will be fighting to stay on the lead lap here, but not fighting too hard as he goes high to let this massive pack of 6 drivers that have really broken away from the rest of the field to slot in underneath and continue their forward momentum. Ogle having a lot of luck here with traffic, has extended that gap to 4/10 over McCarthy. As we are about halfway what we expect through the fuel run. Lap times already starting to fall off. Most of these drivers a full second off their fastest laps of the race. And again, Atlanta known for chewing up some rubber and occasionally race cars. As Ogle once again slicing through traffic. His White Claw back number 11 machine looking nice and clean. Very impressed with how tight this pack has remained. It looks like Robinson's pulled about a half second over Clint Rice in 4th. Rice has Brian Glass, Greg McDaniel right behind him, but Michael Watson 7th, who was previously about 1.7 seconds down from the lead pack, has whittled it down to 9/10. And now you may see some drivers who didn't have the short run speed, but trying to find some momentum later on in the run. Man, oh man, more traffic to contend with for Tom Ogle. This has allowed McCarthy to really close that gap. As traffic having a tough go of it, holding on to the high line here, Atlanta. We've seen several drivers going a lap down, leaving a little bit of a racing stripe around the high part of the track, as now traffic's going to go too wide in front of your race leader, Tom Ogle. Where's Ogle going to go? Not a lot of room on the backstretch. Traffic working as best as they can to facilitate those passes for the bright pink and white number 11 machine of Ogle. I believe that's Carl Burke, number 52 machine. He's running 27th, about to go a lap down. And it may soon be getting a little bit of a fender action from Ogle if Ogle can't keep that momentum he's looking for. Ogle gets through. Now McCarthy will try and follow suit. The top 5 has really bunched up here, having to work through traffic together. Still holding about a second gap over 6th place McDaniel. Right now you're watching Ogle, McCarthy, Robinson, 1, 2, 3, but it looks like Ogle gets a little bit loose there. And now McCarthy and Robinson will take over 1st and 2nd. Brixton Glass also right here in the mix. And now Robinson's going to try and make a move on the outside line here at Atlanta. Robinson, McCarthy side by side for the race lead. 40 laps in, the tires have rapidly fallen off already. But these guys are still digging deep side by side down the backstretch. McCarthy falls back by about a half car length, but he's going to send it in deep in turn 3. But will Robinson carry just a little bit more momentum here? As Tom Ogle, the number 11 machine, wants back up there. He wants to interject himself into the lead, but Robinson will clear McCarthy. Taking over the race lead here, the number 23 machine. As one of our drivers, Jonathan Green, had some big problems and takes a tow back to pit road. Aggressively entering pit road. But Jonathan Green not having the night he was looking for. He takes a tow back and maybe sending it back to the virtual hauler here. As Robinson's gained a 3/10 advantage over Dwayne Mccarthur. But look at this, Rice and Glass leaning on each other heavy for the 4th place spot. And just great racing all across the track here today. As now Rice making a charge up to 3rd against Tom Ogle. Everybody doing a solid job so far as the top 3 getting a little bit stretched out. Robinson's got a half-second advantage on McCarthy. McCarthy about 4/10 over Rice. But now we're going to really be seeing the effects of tire wear. Who can keep underneath them and maybe who pushed a little bit too hard too early. I can look back a little bit further to Ogle and Brian Glass battling for that 4th place spot. If we go even further back, looks like we have a pretty heated battle between Brian Lynch and Lee Warsdell. Lynch down 2 spots from where he started, while Warsdell is up 7 positions so far tonight. Back up front, Rice and Ogle still battling hard for that 3rd place spot. You've also got a battle between Copeland and Watts for 7th. Copeland up 11 spots. Watts is up 15 positions so far tonight. Now the big question will be, when are we going to see these top 5 drivers still in a pretty tidy pack come down pit road, as Robinson pulls a 3/4 of a second over McCarthy, the fast Canadian in an 83 machine. These guys show no hints of slowing down too much. Now, as we say that, Dan Hill, Dode Hoskins initiate their green flag stop, as well as Greg McDaniel on lap 52. Going to be interesting to see how that strategy breaks down. As Robinson still looking for his first win of the season. Last week it was Jason Higginbotham picking up his first win of the season. Eddie Jones, who had a start in the pit road, who runs currently 14th on track, he's looking for his 2nd win of the season. And Dwayne Mccarthur running 2nd in the 83 machine, still looking for his 3rd win of the season after the very impressive back-to-back finish he had at the season opener at Daytona, followed by another win at Auto Club just 1 week later. But this is where things get really great out on track, as drivers will start to have a little bit different strategies. And then things will get doubly exciting. You have drivers leaving pit road on sticker fresh tires, a little bit looser than they've been used to running. Robinson, that's what it's an 8/10 advantage looks like. Michael Watson, number 84 machine, comes down pit road for his green flag stop. I'm curious to see how this top 5 is going to shake up on fuel mileage here, as Robinson kind of hit towards the middle of these drivers early on in the run. He may have burned up a little bit more fuel, but he's running 9/10 ahead of McCarthy. McCarthy still has Rice and Ogle right in tow. As now Eddie Jones comes down pit road, the number 14 machine. So some of these drivers talking to during practice were kind of hinting at that they would be pitting for tires more so than fuel tonight here at Atlanta. As McCarthy cuts his way through traffic. A lot of drivers down pit road. Bert Dodson, Larry Corey, Patrick Milligan. So Will, McCarther, Rice, Ogle, Glass running 2nd through 5th. Stay on the same strategy as Robinson and stay out as long as they possibly can. Or are we going to see the field duck down maybe earlier than the 23 machine, who's currently leading the party here at Atlanta? We've got Michelle join us tonight from the spectator area. She's cheering on Dakota Pischke. Dakota currently running 11th on track in that number 1 machine. He's up 2 spots from where he started. Dwayne Mccarthur, Robert Garisco come down pit road. Robinson, Rice, Ogle, Glass still stay out. The top 10 drivers have yet to come down pit road. And here comes Robinson down pit road. Rice and Ogle will follow. So will Brian Glass, as well as Dale Copeland. Andrew Hess will be the only driver so far to stay out. Al Turner, Brian Lynch, Lee Warsdale will follow suit. Ooh, Hess with a big wobble. Trying to put the power down and slide around just a little bit. Now it's going to be interesting here because we heard from the drivers they could get about 67 laps out of a tank of fuel. But it looks like Hess trying to get set up for a pit entry here. No, he does not. He stays in, tucking behind McCarther, who unlaps himself in the 83 machine. Now remember, McCarther came in 1 lap earlier than Josh Robinson. Hess gonna run that number 54 Chevrolet until it's bone dry, and now he signals he's coming down pit road, and Lynch will stay out to get a lap led here at Atlanta. Now, speaking of manufacturers, Chevrolet does lead the Manufacturers Cup here at the Metro Ford Cup Series with 65.7 points. Ford is in second with 51.8, and Toyota brings up the rear with 29.7 points. Both Chevy and Toyota have wins so far this season. Ford still looking for their first top spot. As Lynch comes down pit road, let's see if Gear will follow. No, he will stay out. A little bit of a shimmy coming out of turn 4. And now Dean in the 92 machine will get a lap led. So Dean Gear out front after getting a lap led, holding out as long as he possibly can on that fuel mileage. McCarther shows in second, and I believe about 9 seconds ahead of Robinson, but Robinson closing fast. McCarther may be in tire saving mode, knowing he doesn't have to push quite as hard. That could also be very well due to traffic. How much longer is Gear going to stay out here in the Foxback 92 machine? He comes down pit road for his first green flag stop of the evening, and that should put Dwayne Mccarthur as your race leader, just about 1.6 seconds ahead of Robinson. And Ogle will find himself in third place after the green flag stops have completed here at Atlanta. So now will be the question, how long will these drivers try and go into tire saving mode? Mccarthur not much slower than his fastest lap time. He's about a quarter of a second off the pace. And we should expect to see Mccarthur come down pit road at the latest around that lap 125 mark. Now, somehow, some way, we have not had the yellow flag thrown this evening. Everybody running nice and clean so far out here today. Robinson gaining some ground on Mccarthur. It's down to 8/10 between the number 23 Ford Mustang to the fast Canadian, your race leader, Dwayne Mccarthur. Robinson trying to catch the draft of Mccarthur and reel in that 83 machine. Mccarthur's up 2 spots while Robinson's down 1 after setting the pace in qualifying and putting it on pole, as is fairly usual for the driver of that 23 machine. Mccarthur will find himself side by side with traffic, but able to get through nice and quick. That was the 26 machine of Lloyd Moore, who runs 34th here today. Now again, we had 38 drivers make their way out. We still have 35 out on track, but we only have 16 on the lead lap. Not even to the halfway mark here today. So Robinson 3/10 back from Mccarthur, who's banging doors through traffic here. Mccarthur doesn't want to get slowed down at all, as he knows Robinson's in hot pursuit, down to a quarter of a second separating your lead drivers. Now these two have about 2.5 second advantage over Tom Ogle, the number 11 machine. He's up 2 spots, currently sitting third. Now, will we see Robinson make a move here, or is he going to kind of wait and see how things will develop? It'll be interesting to see as well how the dirty air affects these drivers, if it's going to tighten up those race cars a little bit more and then maybe make things tougher on the long run. But what could also be happening right now is Robinson will be able to save just a little bit more fuel than Mcarthur, who generally has been pushing the air all by himself. Now Mcarthur's going to try and use traffic where he can to take the air off, as that is going to be Patrick Milligan just ahead of your race leaders. Trying to stay on the lead lap, just shy of the halfway point here today. Mcarthur not looking in too big of a hurry to get through traffic. He's using that draft of Milligan maybe to save some fuel himself. And we believe that's what Robinson's doing there in second. We go a little bit further back though to Dakota Pischke. He's going to be side by side with Brian Lynch. Lynch working the inside line. John Hinchcliffe right behind as well. This will be the battle for 11th, a three-car battle for 11th. No, 12th, excuse me. It's Lynch, Pischke, Hinchcliffe, all in the mix. Lynch goes low, getting around Pischke. And let's see what Hinchcliffe is going to do here. As man, Lynch is on a mission in the 15 machine. Quickly putting a 3/10 gap over Pischke and Hinchcliffe, but he will have traffic to contend with, who has their own battle going on just ahead of him. Always great seeing the very talented drivers all across the field have their own shows and battling for their career best finishes. As we check back in, Josh Robinson has actually made the pass for the lead over Mcarthur. We'll take a quick look at the replay, see what happened there for number 23. It looks like he's going to set him up going into turn one and sliding right on by Mcarthur for the pass of the pass for the lead. So now it'll be Mcarthur's turn to run second fiddle. Just 2/10 behind Robinson. They've still got about a 2.4 second gap over Tom Ogle, now increasing about 2.5 seconds back to the third place driver, Tom Ogle. We are past the halfway mark here today. Now Mcarthur will tuck in nice and tidy behind the 23 of Josh Robinson. Robinson trying to score another win for Ford here today, but that will be easier said than done, as there's a lot of very talented drivers out on track, and we still don't know what some of the unsung heroes as far as fuel strategy are going to do here, as we saw a whole lot of drivers come around that lap 50 mark for a bit of an undercut over the rest of the field. as Robinson and McCarthy keep gaining even more ground over the rest. They are now about 3 seconds ahead of Tom Ogle in third, with no sign of these drivers slowing down here. Last time by, both these drivers were in the 31.8s, about 6/10 off their fastest lap of the evening. Josh Mayu takes a tow back to pit road, so I fear his night may be finished as well. He'll be joining the short list of the 4 drivers that have disconnected so far, not having the night they were looking for. There's still about 35 drivers out on track, 15 drivers on the lead lap, and current hard charger will be Dale Copeland in the 55 machine. Dale is up 13 spots, now running 5th on the circuit. And kind of in no man's land here. He's got traffic ahead of him that's a lap down, but Dale is about 4.7 seconds back from Brian Glass, who sits in 4th, and about 3 seconds ahead of Andrew Hess, who's rapidly slowed down here. I wonder if Hess has some sort of problems, or had a problem, as he's allowed Copeland to really extend that gap now to 3.6 seconds. While Eddie Jones, running 7th, has pressure from Al Turner, the number 76 machine. Still a lot of racing left to go for these drivers as we watch Eddie Jones try and catch back up to Hess's 54 machine. But Al Turner in hot pursuit, the number 76 Ford Mustang. Eddie Jones, try as he might, not a rookie here at the Metro Ford Cup Series, but always has his name thrown into the cup when we talk about the Rookie of the Year. The award that'll be handed out later this season. Right now, it's Daniel B. Hill, our current Rookie of the Year in the 112 machine, at least the highest scoring Rookie of the Year. He's got 86 points. He's just ahead of Tim Kennedy with 78 points. Kevin Strandberg with 68 points here today. But good to see the triple-digit driver in the 112 back out on track, charging forward. Now, he did have the no-grid penalty here today, so that's going to hurt his chances ever so slightly of getting up there back into podium position. But if you remember, just last week, Hill was able to put it in the 3rd place spot in the triple-digit 112 machine and bring home a podium after starting 30th. So he gained 27 positions over the night at Phoenix. We've got Tamani cheering on Dakota Pischke as well. Pischke running 13th on track. Al Turner looking to catch up to Eddie Jones here. 3/10 separate the 6th and 7th place drivers. But in the next 10 to 15 laps is when our fuel window will officially be open. Really the next 5 laps is when the fuel window will open. It'll close around lap 110 to 115. And this will be the final stop, final planned stop of the evening, barring any late race cautions and shenanigans. As we go to check back in on Eddie Jones, Al Turner breathing down his neck, 2/10 off. But let's go back up front as Robinson next to Robert Garisco, the number 28 machine, going a lap down here. And that's allowed Dwayne Mccarthur to close the gap to 2/10. Number 83 machine using the draft of traffic to get some momentum built up and make sure he's right there with Robinson. Now, I don't think McCarthy's going to try and make any moves here before they come down pit road, but he wants to stay right there with McCarthy so he can challenge for the lead in the final segment after this last green flag stop is completed. Garisco goes high to allow the race leaders by. And there's a whole lot of traffic intermingled with Robinson and McCarthy. These two are currently 4 seconds ahead of third place Tom Ogle. And when we see these two drivers come down pit road, as they continue to dice it out with traffic, they've slowed the pace down to about 7/8 off their fastest, but very impressed. Robinson and McCarthy on about 40 lap old tires, really keeping the pace up here. Now, we saw some drivers stretch that fuel run way out, 66, 67 laps, while Robinson opted for a lap 60 pit stop, McCarthy with a lap 59. Who will be the first driver in to take their final set of planned tires? Now, I say planned, and I say planned a lot, as it's never too late for a late race caution to throw strategy to the window for these drivers. As Robinson stretches the gap out once more to about 1/4 of a second. I would imagine here that if McCarthy starts to fall off the pace from Robinson, he will duck in just a little bit early. But as it stands, he's still linked right up with that number 23 machine, maintaining about a 2/10 gap, getting it down to about 1500ths every now and then, diving in deep in the corners. But the longer these guys can stay out, the fresher the tires will be for the final run, and give them a little bit more leeway for slicing and dicing against each other. Well, McCarthy right there with Robinson. Just shy of 60 laps left to go here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And these two drivers absolutely putting on a show for the fans at home, keeping the Ford momentum up. The lap time's not dropping too drastically. Dan Hill comes down pit road. I thought he did. Looked like he was having a little bit of issues there in the 112 machine, but keeps things going. Let's take a look and see what happened to Hill. I think he came in a little bit aggressively, sacrificing a pit entry cone before making his way to the box, so he may get a little bit of a penalty there for unsafe pit entry as we watch Robinson McCarthy slicing through traffic once more. Down to 14 drivers on the lead lap at this point. Oh, Mcarthur right on the back bumper of Robinson, looking to the inside line, going down the back stretch. Diving in deep, turn 3 and 4. Traffic goes high as we very briefly go 3 wide as your race leaders go 2 wide through 3 and 4. Mcarthur putting the pressure on Robinson here. Oh, this is going to be good. Now, after that big lunge, Mcarthur falls back by about 2/10, but may try and set Robinson up once more, using that traffic to his advantage wherever he can. Hoskins going high in the 66 machine. Glass in number 87 machine, he comes down pit road for his final stop, as well as John Hinchcliffe and Eddie Jones. Now in this top 4, Dwayne Mccarthy is the only driver that came in on the undercut on lap 59. Everybody else came in on lap 60. But that doesn't seem to be bothering McCarthy too much here, as he is still all over Robinson late in the race. These two drivers have pulled a 5.2 second advantage over Tom Ogle in third. And I am very surprised at how long they've stretched out the run here. Less than a 1/10 of a second separating Robinson and McCarthy as they've been charging through the field here. Winner, we can see these two drivers come down pit road. It looks like Robinson's going to be the first to do so. Letting McCarthy stay out another lap. Robinson comes in very deep to pit road. So I would imagine McCarthy will come in this time by. Robinson, Ogle, Copeland all down pit road. McCarthy will once again, it'll be his turn to stretch it out a little bit longer. Al Turner, Lee Warsdale opt to stay out as well. So does Brian Lynch and Andrew Hess, who are going to be having a battle very shortly for that 4th place spot. McCarthy still extending that fuel run. Well, I'm wondering if he's going to try and catch his competitors a lap down, maybe with a late race caution. We've seen it happen before, so strategy, the name of the game here at the Metro Ford Cup Series. Now McCarthy's on pit road. Warsdale stays out in the 99 machine. Al is just going to shake things up once McCarthy rolls out of pit road, as both McCarthy and Robinson were less than 2/10 apart from each other for the duration of that final fuel stint, or next to final fuel stint, I should say. So now we watch with bated breath to see where Robinson and McCarthy will end up out on track together. Robinson slicing through traffic here. There's McCarthy on the bottom groove, leaving pit road to get back up to speed. He will be about 1.5 seconds, almost 2 seconds back from Robinson. That is not what McCarthy wants to see with so much traffic in front of him, because we know Robinson absolutely lethal in the clean air. It doesn't matter what track you're at. The number 23 machine knows how to get up front, and most importantly, he knows how to tire save. So knowing he can run the remaining 47 or so laps wide open without worrying too much about fall off, Will be interesting to see how Robinson makes this work, but McCarthy will have 2-lap fresher tires underneath them. So now we have to see how will Robinson navigate traffic. Andrew Hess shows as your race leader, but Hess hasn't come down pit road since lap 63. So I'd imagine that's going to put Robinson, McCarthy, Glass as your top three once we see Hess finally make his way down for the final stop of the evening. Robinson just clicking off laps. He had a 31.27 his last time by. Excuse me, a 31.31. It was McCarthy with a 31.27. So both drivers very close on pace here as Robinson's going to be very quickly approaching Andrew Hess's number 54 machine, who's on much, much older tires, almost 60-lap older tires at this point. McCarthy still about 2 seconds back from Robinson. Hoskin looks like he's coming out in pit road for his final stop of the evening. Now both Robinson and McCarthy are having to slice through the same amount of traffic, so neither driver really gaining too much of an advantage here. Tom Ogle slots up into fourth, making his way around Brian Glass. And Robinson gaining ground on Hess, but we would imagine Hess will have to come down pit road at least once more. But I think Hess really counting or hoping at least for a late race caution, as he knows Robinson is very quickly closing the gap to this 54 machine running out front. Hard Charger on track shows to be Dean Gear, but Gear also hasn't come down pit road for his final stop. Hess comes down pit road, Robinson takes over the race lead. And still with about a 2-second advantage over McCarthy. As the laps start to click off here. And just as we kind of imagined what would happen, a late race caution to throw a wrench into things. Oh my. Trying to figure out who may be involved in that one. Didn't quite see it on the crash report. Maybe one of our drivers that's already back to pit road can let us know where that caution came from. As look at this, drivers coming down pit road for a final shootout. Robinson, McCarthy, Ogle, Glass, Copeland, Jones, Turner, Warsdale, all on pit road for 4 final sets of tires to bring this to the end. Oh, this is going to be exciting, ladies and gentlemen. So Dean Gear shows as your race leader with our first caution of the night, but he hasn't been down pit road since lap 66. Surely he'll have to come down here. So still no word on what brought out the caution. Trying to see if we can figure this one out for the fans at home. I'm thinking possibly Bert Dodson may have been involved. He has a bunch of damage on his machine. Oh, it's just behind Dodson. Let's back that up. There's somebody leaving pit road here. Was that Hess in the 54 machine? I think it was. If we can pull him up, get his point of view. Oh, just maybe grabs a little bit of the white line. Oh, and snaps around, and Andrew Hess hard in the outside wall. Takes the toe, but the caution still comes out, so Andrew Hess will be involved in that one. And to really throw a wrench in things here. So now you've got the field, everybody, first through about 15th, coming out lap 123, 124, taking 4 fresh Goodyears, enough gas to make it till the end. And it'll be a final shootout with Robinson and McCarthy on the front row, Ogle and Glass your second row, Copeland and Jones your third row. Pace car is in for what could be the final time. Robinson, Mcarthur, the front row. Mcarthur's on the inside line. Robinson on the high line. Right behind them is Ogle and Glass, looking for their first win of the season as well. But will we see another caution punctuate the racing here, as cautions tend to breed cautions? Robinson working the outside line with teammate Tom Ogle right behind. Brian Glass going to follow in the high line. Mcarthur not getting a whole lot of love on the inside line. It looks like Eddie Jones in the 14 machine trying to pull up to the 83. As now Robinson and Ogle have linked up on the high line, as well as Glass in the bright yellow 87 machine. Mcarthur still, oh, there we go. Mcarthur and Robinson to each other. Around they go. It's going to be a big one as Robinson pirouettes across the track. The field scatters. Oh, that is a big one with some very fast drivers. Oh, absolutely gutting for Robinson. Let's take a look, see what happened. I'm not sure what happened there. To watch, Robinson's on the left side of your screen. Mcarthur on the right side, the 83. Robinson maybe got a bump from Ogle there. And let's back that up, see if we can get a little bit better angle to see what exactly caused that first impact. To watch, Robinson just gets loose, I think. Yeah, Robinson gets loose, slides down into Mcarthur, and then his teammate, Tom Ogle, may have got through there miraculously. But the 55 of Copeland's going to get tagged. There's the 84 machine barraging in. And man, oh man, absolute gutting for Josh Robinson, who is looking so good here to pick up his first win of the season. And then just carnage here at Atlanta. Let's watch one more time. Yeah, Robinson just gets loose all on his lonesome. And then the cars start stacking up. I think Mcarthur and Ogle have a little bit of damage, but hopefully not too much, as the rest of the field does a good job scattering around the wounded 23 machine. Robinson. Oh my. So that'll be our second caution of the night. 30 laps left. And the big one is out at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Your top 7, 8 drivers staying out here. A large portion of the field coming down pit road, but how much damage will Mcarthur and Ogle have on their machines? Mcarthur's 83 machine right side looking a little bit battle-torn. We're going to try and get an angle on Tom Ogle's number 11 to see what the front end looks like, to see if he sustained any heavy damage. The wheel will get him racked back up. So let's see what's going to happen here after several very fast drivers are going to be going back with a little bit of damage. But now your front row, Ogle and McCarther, I believe both have damage on their machines, but how much will it affect the run here? As there is not a lot of time left to make big moves. We get ready for the pace car to come in. 27 laps left to go as they cross the line. Here we go at the Metro Ford Cup Series at Atlanta Motor Speedway. It's Ogle and McCarther side by side. Right behind them, Glass and Jones, with John Hinchcliffe trying to join the party in the 50 machine. Ogle takes over the race lead here. McCarther hops in behind. But how much damage do these two drivers have after that late race caution? McCarther just over 1/10 of a second behind Ogle. He's going to look to the inside line through 1 and 2. Getting right on the back bumper of Ogle. But will McCarther be able to step out of line and facilitate a pass, or is the arrow the only thing keeping him up there? Now these two have gained about 4/10 on Eddie Jones, who desperately wants his second win of the season. The self-proclaimed rookie pro of Eddie Jones trying to get up there. As here we go for the race lead, McCarther and Ogle side by side. McCarther on the inside line, Ogle the high groove, as they go too wide behind them as well. Jones still holding on to the third place spot in the number 14 machine. Ogle still on that middle groove. McCarther looking down low. Two very winning drivers up front. But if they slow down the pace, it'll be interesting to see how things pan out right behind him, as there is a fleet of drivers trying to make their way up. You've got Glass, Jones, Hinchcliffe, McDaniel, all in the mix here. Al Turner, Clint Rice, Dakota Pischke, Lee Warsdale inside the top 10. Looks like McCarther backs out of it slightly, tucking in behind Ogle, not wanting to use up too much tires early on the run. As Brian Glass, oh my goodness, sends it in deep through 1 and 2. Glass with a massive run on the outside line right behind Tom Ogle. As Ogle, McCarther yet again side by side. Glass looking for a way through in the 87 machine. Now all three of these drivers last came in a lap 123, but does Glass have the least amount of damage here? As are we going to go 3 wide for the lead? We're hinting at it. McCarther still holding on the inside line, but Glass is starting to push Ogle up towards the front. So now it's going to be McCarther and Glass side by side for second. John Hinchcliffe, the number 50 machine, making his way up. Oh, this is going to be frantic towards the end as Brian Glass trying to cut through, get down low. See if he can make his way around Tom Ogle. Has the back out of it. Tucking in behind the number 11 machine once more. Still anybody's guess. Anybody inside the top 5 here realistically has a chance to win it, as we're 2 wide, 2 rows deep in the battle for second. Glass goes very high there. McCarthy staying committed to the bottom groove here at Atlanta. He's side by side with Glass. Glass tucks in behind your race leader, Tom Ogle. I think frantic is the best way to describe this race for the lead right now. As Glass goes in deep on the high line, McCarthy deep on the inside line, trying to split Tom Ogle, your race leader. Ogle trying to make that White Claw back forward, number 11 machine, as wide as he possibly can. As McCarthy takes back over second place. Oh, look at that. I think that was Jones. No, that was Clint Rice, number 20 machine, getting very loose out of 4. Oh, and look at that. There's Brian Glass gets loose in the 87 machine. That'll stall his run quite heavily, and around they go. Trying to see who that was. It was Lee Warsdale, I believe, with heavy damage on the 99 machine. A shame after how fast he was running. So we will have our third caution with about 18 laps left to go. Who's going to take tires here? We're checking out Warsdale's wild ride. It almost looked like he backed out of it to avoid getting tagged. Comes across and just hooks, or gets hooked, I should say. Who's the aggressor there? Trying to see who that was. That came up the track. I believe that's the number 70 machine. Possibly the 10. But poor Warsdale, nowhere to go, and just gets absolutely clobbered. Now, looks like everybody inside the top 10, top 11 will come down pit road to throw on another set of tires to bring it home for a shootout. And I think shootout is a very apt way to describe this here. The Warsdale stays out in the 99 machine, I believe, to avoid going a lap down. I would imagine he'll come down pit road this time by. It'll be a 15-lap shootout here at Atlanta. Once again on the front row, Dwayne Mccarthur, Tom Ogle, Jones, Glass, your second row, Rice and Hinchcliffe, your third row. And now we've got all these drivers with fresh tires underneath them. It's anybody's guess on what's going to happen here. As all of our cautions are coming in late in the race, the track is hot, the temperatures of our drivers even hotter. As a reminder, these drivers only have a 7 incident point limit. And for those as well tuning in, you get 4 of those points for car-on-car contact. So very easy to find yourself disqualified. As we've got 17 drivers on the lead lap, with at least 7 or 8 drivers sent back to the virtual hauler early on here tonight. And still, truly, anybody's guess who's going to bring home the win here tonight. Current hard charger, Dean Gear in the 92 machine. He'll be starting 9th after our 3rd caution of the evening as we get ready for the iRacing safety car to make its way down pit road. Pace car is in, and here we go for a 14-lap shootout. McCarthy on the inside line, Ogle on the high line. Jones in the number 14 goes low, as well as Brian Glass and Clint Rice go side by side in the battle for 4th. McCarthy quickly getting out front, getting about a 2/10 gap over Ogle. Ogle may have his hands full with Eddie Jones and the number 14 machine. So as it stands, it's McCarthy, Ogle, Jones, Rice, Glass, your top 5 here. I wonder how much damage Ogle and McCarthy were able to fix on pit road during that very short stop, if they even had time to hammer anything back into back straight here. But here comes Ogle looking to pressure the number 83 machine. Looking to the inside of turn 1, not going to have the time to do it. Right behind them, Rice is putting the pressure on Jones, while Brian Glass sits squarely in 5th in the 87 machine. Ogle still right on the back bumper of McCarthy's 83. McCarthy trying to see how to hold on to the race lead as Ogle measures them up, taking some notes to see what line McCarthy has been more comfortable and more quick at to try and plan a last lap pass. Now, I don't think Ogle's going to try and press the issue too early on here, as generally you don't want to be the leading driver on the last lap, while your opponent will be able to use that draft to their advantage. But here comes Ogle looking at the inside line in turns 1 and 2. Side by side, Ogle's got about a half car length, but not able to go all the way up to the track and carry that momentum. So McCarthy takes over the race lead by just under a car length. Ogle answers back into turns 3 and 4. And yet again, side by side. Now Ogle still looking for his first win of the season. McCarthy trying to be the first driver so far to make it 3 in the top spot. As, leaning on each other hard. McCarthy may have got into Ogle there, and now Ogle will find himself back into 4th in a hornet's nest. So Jones and Rice will move up to 2nd and 3rd. Ogle falls back to 4th, as McCarthy has about a 3/10 advantage over these two drivers. Jones looking for his second win of the season, but it's going to be interrupted as we have another caution come out. I think that may be Hinchcliffe and the number 50 machine. Oh my. For our fourth caution of the night. Well, let's see what happens to Hinchcliffe in the race that just won't end. Looked like Glass got a little bit unsettled on the top wall. And then Hinchcliffe gets tagged by, I'm trying to see who else that was. Watch that one once more. In hands, I think. That's a great shot. It's hard to tell. I think that's the number 16 of Lynch. Yes, it is. Back that one up a little bit. So look at that. Glass gets loose on the outside. The number 87 machine starts to come back down the track. While Lynch went up just ever so slightly as Hinchcliffe comes down, catches him on that quarter panel, and around goes Hinchcliffe. My oh my, are we sacrificing some race cars tonight, ladies and gentlemen, late in the race? As that will be our fourth caution of the evening. Getting dangerously close to green-white checker conditions here. So we'll get them re-racked with McCarthur and Jones the front row, Rice, Ogle your second row, Lynch and Milligan your third row. Everybody on their same set of tires since their lap 143 pit stop. I don't think anybody's going to give up the track position at this point as they are beating and banging on each other quite fiercely. This is going to be interesting. We've seen a lot of bumping and grinding going on so far tonight. And now where everything's on the line, who is going to be using that front bumper to make something happen? Now, we do have 2 green-white checker attempts tonight, but most importantly, I would say no fast repairs as the pace car comes in and sends them out. But what that means is if you have damage on these cars, you've got to fix them in pit road. No get out of jail free card. As we watch Mccarthy on the inside line getting chased by Eddie Jones. You've also got Clint Rice on the inside, Tom Ogle on the high line. Jones with a massive run, the number 14 machine. Rice giving a hearty shove to McCarther. McCarther trying to pick up his 3rd win of the season. Jones looking for his 2nd. Rice and Ogle looking for their 1st win as Rice trying to find somebody to give a support to. It looks like he's going to tuck in behind Jones as they are diving in deep in turn 1. Rice goes very high here, gets a little bit loose. He's going to tag Ogle, no, backs out of it. Ogle has to very hold up the brakes, so now Milligan's going to move up to 3rd. Eddie Jones, your race leader. The white flag will be out this time by McCarther in hot pursuit of the number 14 machine. They are doing their absolute best to crash behind Patrick Milligan. Tom Ogle's going to fight fiercely for that final podium spot. Looking to the inside line of Milligan. Looks like Ogle may have it here as it's a drag race down the backstretch. Up front, Jones holding on tooth and nail against McCarther. McCarther looks to the inside line. Will he have the momentum? Or are we going to see yet again contact between the race leaders as they make their way to the line? Looked like Ogle going through the grass. It's going to be Jones, McCarther, Milligan, your top 3 here today. Oh my goodness, what a way to wrap things up. As we get our drivers to take photos on pit road. Milligan has went back to the hauler already. So it'll be Jones and McCarther in the high of the limelight here. But well done, Eddie Jones. His 2nd win of the season here at the Metro Ford Cup Series. And what a spectacular finish here today. We're going to wait on our drivers to make their way up into victory lane. As I would imagine there is some discussion going on out on track. And it'll be Eddie Jones' turn in the limelight. The number 14 machine for the 2nd time this season, burning it down in the Chevrolet. A great win by Eddie Jones here at Atlanta. Still waiting on Dwayne Mccarthy, Eddie Jones to make their way up into the waiting room. And we will get the podium interview started. Up first with Dwayne Mccarthy, our fast Canadian friend. Dwayne, what a rough race for a lot of people, but still able to bring it home in the 2nd place spot in the 83 machine.
Thanks, James. Yeah, I'm happy to salvage that 2nd place there.
Now, Dwayne, we saw in kind of uncharacteristic fashion a spree of cautions come out there at the end, and some of the hardest racing I think we've seen in seasons past. I mean, what do you think led to so much door-to-door action late in the race here at Atlanta?
Yeah, that was definitely harder. I think maybe some damaged cars. I think maybe a little less, a little more carefree. I know once my car was damaged, I drove a lot harder than I would normally drive. and that might have been going on through the field too. Plus, we were so stretched out prior to the caution that it was kind of like a new lease on life.
Yeah, kind of ended up in a short sprint race several times in a row there. Now, talking about damage, we saw you and Ogle get into each other and then pushed hard afterwards, still able to maintain pace. But do you feel like that damage on your car was slowing you down at all, or were you worried it was going to maybe tighten it up early in the run if we did get a green flag stretch?
I mean, I could tell on the final restart against Eddie there that it was lacking a bit. I think short run it was okay, which is why I was driving it so hard. I think over the long run I'd have faded through the field, but I drove probably about 10 feet over my head after I got the damage just to try to keep it up front. And luckily I kept it pointed forward.
Yeah, it seemed like things worked out very well for you, all things considered. Not quite the third win you were looking for, but still a great points evening, so you can't be too upset. Now, Dwayne, who would I give a shout out to, friends, family, sponsors, before we let you go enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening?
Yeah, just shout out to our sponsor, Metro Ford Chicago, Patrick Milligan, Kim Bowl, and Victory Lane Sports. A big thank you to all the admins here running this league and everybody showing up every week to come out and fill these fields and put on a show and make it such a great place to race. And then thanks to my teammates, Last Ditch Racing and Eddie Jones and Dakota, Robert, Brian were all out there today. It was you can't do it without them, and they definitely calmed me down when I needed it. So yeah.
Awesome. Dwayne, always a great time talking to my friend. Congratulations on getting back up here in Victory Lane, and hope to see you doing well next week as well.
Yep, you betcha. Thanks, James.
Thank you, Dwayne. That was Dwayne Mccarthur finishing second tonight. But up next, the man of the hour, the second time this season, the self-proclaimed professional rookie Eddie Jones in the top spot.
Yeah, that ought to move me up in the rookie points, reckon.
I think so. I think reckon's probably the word of the day, too, Eddie. We saw a bunch of it there in the last 20, 30 laps.
Wow, yeah, that was crazy. I got the EOL, had to start back there. Everything was good for the first 2/3 of the race, and then it started getting wild around me afterwards. Just wow.
Now, Eddie, we saw a bunch of door-to-door action. We saw a bunch of drivers also getting snapped loose out of 1 and turn 4. What do you think was happening there? Normally we see the front rights getting the abuse here at Atlanta, but looked like the right rears were having to put in a little bit of overtime.
It may have just been a little bit of folks racing a little harder than maybe they needed to there at the end. And then, if they'll go back and look at it, well, if I wouldn't have done this, I'd have probably ended up better off than I did. But, hey, we're still learning the car, so.
Now, Eddie, what do you think was hotter, the track temperature here in Atlanta or the driver's temperature after those last final restarts?
I'll plead the fifth on that one. I'm pretty happy, so I'll say the track temp, but I can't talk for everybody.
Well, awesome, Eddie. You had a great job tonight, my friend. Up 11 spots from where you started. A great evening all the way around in a relatively clean race car. I know you're pumped to be back up here for the second time this season. Who would you like to give a shout out to that helped you get out here in that 14 Chevrolet?
Well, I got to thank my main sponsor, Jones Sign Company. Got to thank my teammates. They while I had to serve an EOL from the race at Phoenix. I actually started back about 26. So me and Dwayne talked back and forth. I was just trying to keep track position where the leaders were, just making sure I was maintaining. And yeah, teammates, big help.
Well, Eddie, great job tonight, my friend. Good to have you back in the top spot for the second time this season. Right now, it's you and your teammate McCarthy, the only 2 drivers to bring home 2 wins. So hope to see you carry that success in the near future, and always a great time talking to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, James. Good job, bud.
Thank you, Eddie. And that was Eddie Cajun Jones bringing home the top spot here at the Metro Ford Cup Series at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Dwayne Mccarthur finishes second, and Patrick, Mr. Metro Ford Milligan, rounds out our podium. As always, on behalf of the Old Bastards Racing League, as well as Team Goon Squad Broadcasting, thank you all so much for tuning in, supporting the broadcast, and spending your Sunday evening with us. And we will see you same time, same place next week. Have a great night, everyone.